Good morning. Welcome to the October 2023 Staff Senate meeting. I'm the Chair of the Staff Senate, Jordan Basham. Thank you all for joining us here in person and live via YouTube. We'll get started with our roll call. Senator Bartlett. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Regent Brinkley. Present. Senator Kanzler. Present. Senator Collins. Present. Senator Dorth. See on Zoom. Senator Gilbert. Senator Henry. Senator Hopwood. Yes, sir. Senator Inglis. Senator Jenkins. Senator Johnson, who's on Zoom.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Lindsey Jones is out of the office today. Senator Ron Jones. Senator Calkins.
Present.
Senator Moran.
Present.
Senator Purdy.
Present.
Vice Chair Stoll is on vacation. Senator Vanderpool.
She's on Zoom.
Oh, she's on Zoom? Wow. Show off.
Present.
Thanks, Gina. Senator Vincent. Senator Wright. Awesome. All right. So I asked the Senate accept our agenda for today with one note. I got our next meeting date wrong. It's November 1st, not the 8th, but we'll have that clarification out to everybody. Without objection. Okay, our agenda is accepted and we'll move on to the approval of our monthly minutes from September. Those were also distributed electronically. Does anybody have any edits for those? If not, I'll ask that we accept those with unanimous consent as well. Okay, those are accepted. And we'll move on to the Christopher Ware Staff Star Awards. Senator Vince.
Good morning. It's always an honor presenting Christopher Ware Staff Star Awards. Each month, the Senate gets to recognize individuals from across campus that make a difference. There are so many great employees at WKU. Getting this opportunity to highlight a few each month is just one of the important roles Staff Senate plays at the university. If you work with someone and would like to recognize them, please go to our website and submit those nominations. Our first Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Jenny Hensley. Jenny is the Parent and Family Engagement Coordinator for WKU Housing and Residence Life. This is from Jenny's nominator. Jenny has been an outstanding addition to our department. Jenny transitioned to our department with grace and pose, bringing new ideas and a fresh spirit. Jenny has served in her role as a parent and family coordinator and provided peace of mind to all of those she interacts with. Additionally, Jenny has tackled small areas, in quotations, small, such as master plan and parent and family weekend, and makes them look easy. She's someone you can count on and go to with any request. She communicates well and always shows up 110%. Our department is better with her in it. Also speaking on her behalf is Katie Corbin, the Associate Director of Marketing and Communications for Housing and Residence Life.
Good morning. As she said, I'm Katie Corbin. I'm the Assistant Director of Marketing and Communications for Housing and Residence Life, and I have the pleasure of working directly with Jenny Hensley pretty much on a daily basis. And as some of you may know, Jenny coordinated our master plan program this year and did a phenomenal job. This is a huge feat as we welcome over 2,000 of our newest Hilltoppers to the Hill. It is a campus-wide initiative, a week-long program that takes the whole year to plan and then to assess and to make better. And Jenny just really makes this look effortless. All the while that she is coordinating and implementing master plan, she was also coordinating and implementing a parent and family weekend that happened just 3 weeks later with the way the calendar fell this year. So again, Jenny's event planning skills are just phenomenal. She just makes this look too easy and just puts the rest of us to shame. And so she's also worked very hard to make the parent and family weekend registration and ticket process so much easier for parents, where they don't have to wait in lines, and that it's just so much easier. It's all online, and they can take care of it, and making it that much better of an experience for them that weekend, so they can spend more time with their students and less time in those lines. All the while of those things happening, she's still doing her regular duties of communicating communicating to parents and with parents as they are getting ready to launch their students for the first time into a really scary situation where they are being on their own and independent. And she just handles all of those calls with just grace and compassion, and she listens. And she just makes all of this look so easy and is always going above and beyond. And when you tell her that, she says, I'm just doing my job. Like it's kind of annoying that she's just like, yeah, it's fine. She's amazing. And so I'm really excited today for her to be recognized with the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award, just to show that recognition for her excellence in all of her work and her humility and her work ethic. So congratulations, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Robert Robertson. Robert is a graphic artist in the admissions office. Speaking on his behalf is Allison Campbell, Assistant Director of Recruitment and Admissions, and Morgan Gossett, Assistant Director of Communications, WKU Admissions.
Good morning, everyone. I think I speak for Morgan and myself that we are honored to be a part of the recognition for Robert for the Staff Star Award today. So as she mentioned, he serves as our graphic artist in the Office of Admissions. And while many would consider his work as behind the scenes at WKU, the designs that he produces reach hundreds of thousands of prospective students and their families each year. Nearly every single recruitment piece that a student receives, sometimes their very first introduction to WKU and our unique opportunities here, is the direct result of Robert's work. In any given year, Robert designs over 40 unique projects ranging from postcards to presentations, table displays, to dynamic view books. Last year alone, over 620,000 individual pieces were printed and distributed to prospective students, each expertly showcasing both the WKU spirit and Robert's skill. For over 28 years, he has given his talent to WKU, using his gift to share the stories of the WKU community. During my time at WKU, I'm not sure that I've worked with a more collegial individual. Robert is kind, supportive, hardworking, and loyal to our Hilltopper family. All of us at WKU are incredibly fortunate to have Robert on our team. So congratulations, Robert, and thank you for everything.
So as Allison alluded to, Robert has been a staple on WKU's campus, and particularly in the efforts related to student recruitment for a number of years. And I would consider Robert's position to be a little bit unique because despite his specialty and commitment being to student recruitment, he has a responsibility to showcase the WKU experience from start to finish in the most creative of ways. Robert is also committed, though, to enhancing the student experience for those that are already here. He's always provided opportunities to our current Hilltoppers that help them excel in the world post-graduation. There are a number of students who have graduated from WKU and those that are still here with us who got to serve the Office of Admissions as an intern for Robert. And having been his office neighbor and overhearing the conversations that they have, he not only teaches them valuable skills for the world ahead, but he also ensures that while they're here, that they're making the most out of their time. So through his contributions to our campus-wide recruitment marketing, his commitment to enhancing the student experience, and the radiating spirit of respect, cooperation, and trust that he exudes every day, there's no one more deserving of praise and gratitude than Robert. So Robert, thank you for being a great colleague and a great friend. From our shared appreciation for good sports marketing, and just the conversations we have about whatever is going on at the time, I consider it a great honor, and I am truly blessed to have you as a colleague. So congratulations, Robert, and thank you for all your.
Yeah, which one is? Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you say. You get one. Yeah.
Our final Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Karen Russell. Karen is a housing assistant for female assignments in housing and residence life. And this is from her nominator. Karen is the definition of what it means to offer great customer service. She goes above and beyond to help students and calm the stresses of parents. From worried students who walk into our office to frustrated parents calling about a housing assignment. Karen is great at easing fears and doing what she can to help. Karen has brought such a light to the department and is so fun to work with. Staff who come in love stopping to chat with her. We love Karen. The world, WKU, and HRL are better places because of her. On behalf, or also speaking is Lana Kunkel, Director of Housing and Operations.
Good morning. I am pleased to share just a little bit about Karen with you all. Just to give a little context, when we say that she is the female assignments coordinator, that means she handles every female student that lives in the residence halls. That's over 2,700. And if you can imagine, females have a lot of questions. So I don't doubt that Karen has probably spoken with just about every single one of those students multiple times throughout the summer. Not to mention the mama bears and the even worse sometimes papa bears that call on behalf of their daughters. She fixes every single request that they may have, if they change roommates at the last minute, or if they don't particularly like being on the 26th floor of PFT, she will get them what they need, guaranteed. She will work tirelessly to fix anything that those students have a question about. Just to give an example of the ways that she goes above and beyond, just this past week, we have a student who lived above us in Southwest Hall who had kind of a medical emergency, somebody who's a diabetic, and she needed juice. And Karen went upstairs and gave that student juice just to make sure that that student felt better. So Karen does many things to help the specific populations of students on our campus as well. She takes great pride in our LGBTQ students that live on campus as well, and just really exudes what we want from our housing staff to go and beyond to go above and beyond for our students. So it's very proud and really glad that our staff nominated you and can have better staff in our office. Karen.
Congratulations to everyone and thank you for the nominations. And it sounds like you guys got really good workers there. So you guys have some great areas. Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate showcasing some of the best the WKU staff has to offer. We'll move on to our special guest presentation. President Gaboni, you'll join us.
Good morning. How many of you maybe attend the lecture last night with Dr. Ballard? How about that? It's those of you who didn't, it was a special treat to have him on our campus and with our students and to share some of his background and life experiences. A special night for our campus. Thank you, number one, for inviting me. This is actually one of my favorite things I get to do each year. I appreciate and believe in the importance, not just of shared governance, but communication back and forth. And I appreciate the monthly meetings that I have with Jordan. I've had Brian and all the other folks that have sat in that chair seat. But this is also another important opportunity for me to listen. And more importantly, perhaps for you, for me to answer some questions from the body, but also from our more general staff. So I want to start with some really great news. And I sent this note out this week, I think, about our enrollment. And I preface this by saying thank you. Because enrollment growth is not because of anything I do. To be candid, it's partially due to admissions, but the reality is it's all of us. It's every person on this campus talking about what they do, why they do it, the importance of students, why this is such a remarkable place, and how different we are from just about any other institution. And from my perspective, for undergraduates, it's the best choice in the state for studying as an undergraduate. So our total enrollment this fall semester is up 3.4%. Enrollment for degree seeking students up 1.3%. Our freshman cohort is up 3.3%. Graduate enrollment up 5.3%. And this is the most important thing, because we've been talking about this now. This is my, believe it or not, 7th year on the Hill as president. The days are long, but the years are short, I've learned. This is the first increase in overall degree seeking enrollment since 2010. 12 years, right? It's a long time. And it took the entire institution focusing to turn this battleship, and we've begun that turn. The momentum needs to continue, but I want to talk about some of the other gains that to me are impressive. Our first and second year retention is up 6.7 percentage points from 2016 to 21-22. It's the largest 5-year increase in WKU's history. Underrepresented minority retention up 15 percentage points. That is remarkable. These numbers are a national story. And we're working to help folks understand how it is we've done this at WKU. And the way we've done it is by working across silos, working across staff and faculty, and ensuring that our entire community is focused on making sure we not just bring folks to the Hill, but when we bring them here, they're successful and they leave with a degree. Our first and second year retention rate today is at 78%. We're 2 percentage points away from that 80% goal. We were at almost 70% just 6 years ago. Tremendous accomplishments. And so I want to say thanks to everybody on the campus, our alumni, our community that helped create this story and this success. And I want us to celebrate a little bit together. I've had we're celebrating over and over again, apparently. I've had admissions and everybody else who's involved over at the house for a celebration. I'm going to have a particularly for our admissions counselors, a gathering. These folks are junior staffers, right? They're new to the profession, most of them. They work long hours on the road, and sometimes it is a thankless job, but it's the most important interaction sometimes that young people will have with the institution. Just like the print pieces that we create, everything that someone knows about WKU may come from this one interaction with this one admissions counselor, and they're crucially important to us, and I'm going to thank them. And then for the whole community, on November 1st, which is a Wednesday, same day apparently as your next council meeting or Senate meeting, from 2:30 to 3:30 in the Colonnade, right outside the Fine Arts Center. I'd like the campus to gather, come together. We're going to have some fall treats, whatever that means, like maple cookies, I guess, and gingerbread men and women, and gingerbread big reds, I'm guessing, and some apple cider. And I hope it's cool, this hot chocolate too. So we're going to celebrate all of our accomplishments all together. I think it's important for us to pause and reflect and be thankful. Before I start kind of answering the questions that you all posed and the campus community posed, I want to address some rumors out there about the budget. And this is really important to me. I don't know what some Cassandras across campus get from profiting doom and gloom, but I want to be really clear. There is no budget deficit at the institution. There is no budget cut. Actually, this year, our revenue and our budget number is higher than last year's. We spent a little bit more last year than we brought in. So we don't have a budget issue. We had a spending issue last year, But this is what's so important about this. So for the past 6 years, each year, as an institution, we have spent under our revenue. You know what that is? That's good financial management. And coming out of COVID, we knew that there was going to be some expenditure pressures. And so last year, we spent about 2.9, we spent 2.9% over our overall budget. And so what I'm asking folks to do this year is what we've done the previous 5 years, which is spend 90% of actual revenue. That's not a cut. That's actually just managing our money well. So I don't know what it felt like to all of you last year, but it didn't feel to me like we were spending extravagantly, right? This year, it won't feel to you like we're spending it in austere mode, right? Average faculty and staff really should not feel any difference between last year and this year. So what I want to say is this is different. This is different from how we've managed in the past. This is part of our maturation as an organization of the university. It's also part of getting used to responsibility-centered management, the RAMP model, a decentralized budget model. We have to, each of us with budget authority, be responsible for the spend in our areas. We also have to be responsible for creating reserves for our areas. And so I'm excited, to be candid, that we're in a place where a 3% overspend is just something we manage through and get back to good. And I asked someone to explain it to me like I could understand it. And if you make $60,000 a year, that means you get paid. I'm using square numbers here because I can't do the math in my head. And you get paid $5,000 a month, and you have a $10,000 savings account. In the course of a year, because of inflation or purchasing or some things you want, you spend $5,150 a month for 10 months. $150 more than you bring in. It's about 3%, right? At the end of the year, are you bankrupt? No. Now, your savings account is down $1,500. Instead of $10,000, you have $8,500. So what do you do the next year? Well, you have options. You can do nothing, and at the end of the year, you're probably going to have $7,000, if my math is right, in your savings account. Or you can say, I'm going to spend $150 less per month than the $5,000, $4,850. And over 10 months, take that money and put it back in my savings account. At the end of the year, you get $10,000 again. Was your salary cut? No. So that's what we're doing. And that's the simple way for me to talk about how to be disciplined, fiscally conservative, and prudent with our dollars. We will never, as long as I'm president, go back to 2017-18. The way you get there is by kicking the can and not doing what we're doing today. And I can't allow that to happen. And none of us want to go back there. So for folks that are hearing whatever rumors are out there, and this is a funny place, people share lots of things that are untrue or wild and crazy. And sky's not falling. Your hair's on fire, put it down. We're all going to be good. It's okay. And the reason it's okay is because all the hard work we've all done. Recruitment, you heard that, so that's about revenue. But also I'm being conservative with our spend. It's nice to be at this place. It's what a mature university does. And we're all to be congratulated for that. We all had a role. We all lived through it. And so I'm glad that it's good news today and not a sounder type news. Okay, questions. Questions. That's for you. Oh, it's for me. I got a big water too. Good. I start with this one because invariably, the first question I get is around parking, right? It's the most important issue at every university that I've ever been to. Parking. And the first, so I'll answer the least important question first. Yes, I pay for my parking. It comes out of my paycheck just like everyone else does. And And I understand why, and I'll explain why in a second. Well, folks want parking to be free. Parking isn't free. Parking requires maintenance, it requires folks to work in that office. We have about over $1 million in deferred maintenance we have to do on parking structure 1. And how are we gonna pay for that? Well, the way we pay for it is with the parking fees that we generate from all of our hang tags and our parking meters, and some of it comes through fines if you miss park. I think it's more of a student issue than a faculty staff issue. But all of it important because parking is a revenue dependent organization on our campus, right? They essentially support themselves through the revenue they generate. But we also benchmark. And so if you look at our parking rates compared to those around the Commonwealth, we are very, very affordable. And I'm proud of the fact that we've not raised the parking rate since 2019. Again, trying to be conservative and not do construction in ways that are unsustainable for our staff. Now, there's some concerns about the Mimosa lot. It's a pretty small lot. And I know that there's some pressures around the construction and some slots around the health services on campus. When the Gordon Ford College of Business is done, the reserve slots in Mimosa will go back to where they're supposed to be. But that is a building on that end of campus. And so my hope is that when we open the building, that a lot of folks are probably going to park in that parking structure. It's a quicker walk than some of the other lots up and down the street. But parking does this, and this is the more general answer. What parking does at the beginning of each semester is they try to do a load balance and look to see what kind of passes work in what spaces. And some of you may recall, if you work at the top of the hill, you may recall last year there were some lots that were they were empty, to be honest with you. And I didn't notice it, but a group of faculty certainly did. And I think Faculty Senate actually was going out and counting cars and empty spaces for us, and thankful for their work. And they shared that with the parking office. So the parking office then went out and did their assessment, and we made some changes to the way in which passes were allocated so that more folks could take advantage of that lot. And so what I will commit to is that parking will do that once as we navigate this, right? So I know they're monitoring Mimosa now, but as that new facility opens, we got to make sure that we utilize the resources as much as possible. And so we'll do that. The other thing is, and I say this in a joking way, we don't have a parking problem on this campus, right? There's plenty of parking. But it's a lot like restaurants. I always say, why don't folks go downtown? Well, I don't want to have to walk. I want to park right in front of whatever I'm going to go eat at on Scottsville Road. I appreciate folks want to park right in front of their building. If you get here early enough, that's an option you can. And I know that. But the other is that the great beauty of this campus is that we don't have and continue to not have surface parking lots all over the place. And I'm proud of the work that's happened really since about 20 years ago. President Ransel started really paying attention to green space. Each of the presidents has closed, at least the past 5 have closed cross street. So if you think back to the cross streets that we had on campus, the one down the bottom of the hill where Bemis Lawrence and Barnes Campbell and Preston now is. You had one where the Honors College was. You used to be able to park right in front of Christ Hall. I remember that. And we just closed the last one at the top of the hill. So for those of you who remember between the faculty house and Cherry Hall, students texting while cars and trying to drive around them, it was awful and unsafe. And so we managed to do that too. That spine of campus, not having cross streets and having parking on the outside is the differentiator for us. And so I appreciate the walking and that folks will do to get from a parking structure or farther garage. The advantage to us is that you get to enjoy that spectacular green space that we continue to work for. Somebody's concerned about scooters and having them banned on campus. I've been almost hit by football players, football players, I will say, please don't zoom up and down sidewalks. I've seen other not football players doing it as well. So micro mobility is actually important because of the hill. Some folks need that assistance to get up. We had a relationship with a company that went away. We're working on other relationships for our folks to have transportation options, not just for the hill, but also how can they get downtown? How can they get to the grocery store? And so we'll continue to work on that. We're not going to ban them from campus, but we do need to educate ourselves about what safety looks like, and we'll work toward that. So, of course, a number of questions around salaries. And I remember as I was joining the university or rejoining the university as president, I heard over and over and over again, we haven't had regular salary increases. We haven't had regular salary increases. And so I committed to working on that, and as has all of my staff, all the leadership of the institution. And we have a commitment to Staff Senate. Brian and I, we've talked about this often. Ward and I talk about this as well. Regular increases. I'm proud that in almost every year, we did have a global pandemic of my presidency, we've managed to have at least a 2% salary increase. So now that we have regular 2% salary increases, guess what the next question is? Well, why aren't they bigger? And I'm glad to answer the question. I'm glad to answer the question. This means we've made progress. Instead of the question being, why don't I get a raise every year? It's like, well, why is my raise so small? And the answer to that is multifaceted. And I want the raises to be bigger as well. We all do. The cost of living and inflation is eating all of us alive. And I was hopeful that it was moderating, and it feels like it is a little bit. But I am painfully aware that a 2% increase is not a cost of living increase. But here's the challenge in terms of, this is not a WKU challenge. This is a universal challenge for higher education. All right. We're a state-supported institution. And I'll preface this by saying, I'm thankful for the state. We have turned a corner on the way in which they see our legislators see higher education. They have made significant investments in our institution in the past several years. We have grown not just the number of projects we're able to do, but also have had dollars invested in performance funding. But those aren't recurring dollars. And so you remember me saying this, that one of the cardinal sins of budgeting is using one-time dollars to pay recurring costs. If you only have the dollars once, you can't commit them to paying them every year. Because what happens when you do that? You constrain every other part of the budget. And eventually you may get to a place where you have cuts. And so what we have to do in the state, and I'm hopeful in the next session we're going to be able to do this. We got to convince the state legislature that we need some help, and it's not just going to be through performance funding. They know the inflationary pressures that you all are facing, and they've made some moves to assist K-12 education. Our job is to convince them, and the university presidents across the Commonwealth have discussed this tying together, that one of our asks through the CPE, Council on Post-Secondary Education, will be for an inflation adjustment to our base. We have not had a base adjustment 10 years. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been forever in terms of actual years. We've got to help them understand that inflationary pressures are real for you. They're also real for the institution. You think about CPI and that number for the economy, that was running really hot, right? That's running about 3.9, 4.5%, depending upon who you talk to and where we are today. But for higher education, there's a different inflationary number. It's HEPI, the Higher Education Price Index, and that's running at 12%, 12% year over year. That's a disaster for us because it creates budgetary pressures and it creates pressures on us internally that don't allow us to do some things. And so we're going to ask the legislature to help us with that. If we're able to get a 9 or 12% increase to our base funding, that's going to give us lots of opportunities, right? And things that we've been working toward. one of which is dealing with compression issues. One of which is moving toward merit aid and that merit awards, merit salary increases. And then also providing hopefully a significant cost of living increase. The other thing I'm going to remind you, when I showed up, I think 3 people talked about what the budget was and what it was going to be and made that decision. And I was committed to changing that. And the budget executive committee that we have now works on budget issues collaboratively. There are 4 faculty on that. There are 4 staff, I think, on it, 3 or 4, that sit every month or more than once a month to talk about budget challenges. One of the things I'm proud of is that we're talking about a spend constraint, reducing that variance to -3%. And we're having that conversation in September and October. You recall the way it used to work, that would happen in April, and there's nothing you could do about it. And so we, again, kick the can. So again, part of our maturation process, and I'm glad for the input as we continue to work toward that. One of the interesting things I really liked, and I think we have to, it's a good place for us to do some work, is thinking about promotion ladders, right? We went through the compensation study. We have all these positions categorized. And for in a faculty role, you know, I'm going to go from assistant to associate to full. My question for us and for HR is, can we work to create similar ladders for staff positions? And so staff are different from faculty, meaning you're not going to go from being an assistant professor in English to an associate professor of business. It's not how it works. But for staff, you can. Katie Corbin, she's gone. So she was in one position and then she moved over and up into housing residence life. Thankful for the work she does there. Especially when bad things happen, she's really good at that. And so what we have to do, I think, as an organization is identify those multiple pathways and career ladders that for folks, it's sometimes not visible, right? And because it's not as clear. And so Susan and I have talked about that, and we're going to continue to push forward. I think it's a really important idea. Now, someone said, what's going on? We're told in our department there's a hiring freeze. No hiring freeze. But departments, managers, right? This is part of devolving control and responsibility down to the unit level. Deans, department heads, VPs, directors, all have budgetary control, and hiring really is up to them. If you go on the website that shows all the positions that we're hiring for, there's obviously not a hiring freeze. And so I think that one of the things I will always encourage folks to do, it's an interesting place, and it's part of the world we live in. Somebody has a problem, student, staff member, they immediately email me for some reason. And I don't even know how some of this stuff works, right? So I try to get to the person who can be helpful. If you don't feel, talk to your manager. This is where we have to do better as an organization too, in terms of training. We have to grow our managers to have these conversations in their organizations. And I would say over the past 6 years, we've gotten much, much better about this, about managing our resource and having internal conversations. And there are, and I'm smiling because there's still opportunities for growth in some areas. And I know that, and we continue to work with some of those folks. But talk to your bosses, and if it's not satisfactory, work it up the chain, right? I appreciate sometimes folks want me to wave the magic wand, but I try to avoid that if I can. The other parts of this was not necessarily about salary, but about course taking. There's a federal cap that I actually was not even aware of around how much you can allocate. It's $5,250 annually. We can't change that number. That's a federal dollar number. But I'm still proud that we actually support faculty and staff, particularly staff, taking courses on campus, and we continue to cover 100% of those. That's hugely important to us. I think it's a great benefit. Speaking of benefits, did you all enjoy your first fall break?
Yes.
Good. I was glad for us all to be able to do that and share in in the time away, as Casey and I just discussed. It's only 6 weeks till fall break. And then after the short 2 days were over, it's only 6 weeks to Thanksgiving. I'm glad you enjoyed it and can correct that inequity. The other part to those benefits, summer hours have been working and will continue. I've gotten several questions about, can we move to a permanent 4-day work week? We probably can't do that for the institution that I know some nations are considering it. We'll see how that goes. And this is my thinking on this. Number one, if you need a flexible work arrangement, you have the opportunity to do that. You got to negotiate it in your organization, right? Unless your job doesn't require interacting with anyone, 100% virtual really is not who we are as an institution. So we have students on this campus who are present, who are first in their families, first generation, low income students who need us. They need all of us, right? They need their faculty, they need their advisors, they need folks who feed them, they need folks who take care of them, clean their houses, they need folks who fix stuff when it's broken, right? They need the air conditioners or the mold sometimes. We got to take care of folks. And the only way we do that as a community is by doing it together and having being present. And so I appreciate summer hours too, but we got to make sure we're both meeting our mission and also being present and creating the community that we're so well known for. The other thing I would say, and it was one of the comments, was I can't get in touch with anyone. If flexible work arrangements are causing problems with being able to do your work, and this is more for folks who have management responsibility, gotta make sure we can get everything done we need to get done. And I know particularly in the first year in the summer, there was no concern about, I can't get somebody in this office. I think we've gotten really good, and for better or for worse, one of the things the pandemic taught us is how to be flexible and do that. Onboarding, I agree. I asked our new internal auditor, like, what was your orientation process like? He's like, I can't really remember back to when I was oriented. I might have been able to excuse myself from that as president. But it's important. So think about if you're not from the area, if you're coming from someplace else and you got hired here and you sit down, you're like, well, what is WKU? We have to tell ourselves our own story in a way that's compelling, helps people understand our history, understand the lore and the stories of the place, the sagas, and the heroes of the university. The only way you do that is by doing good orientation and telling ourselves what's important and who we are and why we do what we do, why we're student-centered, what that actually means. So we're going to work during the course of this year and coming years to really build a comprehensive orientation program that's not just, hey, go look at this website. It should be once a month. We all get together and I'm going to present to every new employee, the university. This is who we are. These are our aspirations. I meaning me, somebody else that who does that. I think it's a great suggestion, important. I want to go pretty quickly through some of this. Paid parental leave, we are taking a look at it. There's an issue around dual parents who both work here, and how do you take a look at that? It is one of the most generous parental leave policies in the Commonwealth, and I hope we continue to address that. Apparently, Aramark was not able to do ingredient lists in Hilltopper Hub and Fresh. They're going to be able to do that relatively soon. They had to go through the certification process where every single ingredient goes through their system. It's more complicated than I can even explain, but they're committed to it, and it's going to come back soon. If someone's listening and has an issue with allergies, talk to the on-staff dietitian or somebody in Aramark, and they can help work you through that. The top of campus, I appreciate folks being concerned about how we spend money on things. Obviously, we're all trying to be austere. The Hilltop Restoration Project is important for us. We can't take buildings down and leave holes in the ground. We also can't shutter buildings and leave them standing, a la Kate Page, which I don't know how many years that was sitting there with bones in it and some other, and other stuff. And of course, it's not where the page was. We have to have the discipline that if we're gonna make those decisions, we actually do the whole thing. We don't do half of the thing or 2/3 of it, we gotta do the whole thing. And so when we made the decision to take down the Garrett Conference Center and replace it with what will be Garrett Plaza at some point when we name it, and the other top of the hill, we had to do some things. You get one shot to do these things, and we had to do it right. We spread it out over the course of several years. And again, back to my budgeting lesson, use one-time dollars to do that, not recurring funds. And so I'm proud of the prudent way in which we spent those dollars. It's spectacular. It just is. And I know somebody said it's a want and not a need. Well, I'm going to talk to you about what comes next. When we transform Sherry Hall, just as we did the library into the Commons, that's where our recruitment tours begin. And you can imagine walking into a brand spanking new, but with all the good old stuff saved, Sherry Hall. We're not going to do anything to those marble steps. And that's your first impression of the university and that tour. Then you step out the back and you're essentially in this cloistered, beautiful academic wonder. Who wouldn't want to come spend 4 years there? And so we have to be intentional about creating spaces for folks to gather, to come together, and to celebrate community, and that's going to be one of them. Also, if you haven't been there, opening the view to the southeast that's the same as the view to the northwest on the top of the hill. It's just a terrific opportunity. And so there'll be a space there for folks to pause and look and appreciate what is, again, another differentiator for us. Really quickly. Somebody said we need branded ties, bow ties, and a waffle maker. These are the fun part. I get it. And so we've already talked to the bookstore. We're looking into a waffle maker with big red on it or something. We can have big red waffles. And we have had some branded bow ties and ties before. I've got a big red bow tie and a towel bow tie, and that's been beforehand ties too. So we're having those conversations. So thank you for the suggestion. We also mentioned that to Aramark, Regent Brinkley is like, are you really addressing the, yes, this is important stuff. We're going to see if we can get a big red waffle maker for Aramark as well. I don't know if we can get big red sprinkles for the ice cream. That's a cool idea. And then, and so this is, again, another thoughtful opportunity for me to be thoughtful and see things that perhaps I've not seen. I got a message you invite faculty, department heads, and deans to your house for brunch and dinners throughout the year. Would you consider doing the same for staff? And so the answer is, well, yes, but we already do that for staff, but maybe in a way that's as visible as it could be. And so just this past month or so, I had staff from the living learning communities over for dinner. We had the admissions and enrollment folks over for a party in the backyard to congratulate them, and I'll continue to do that. But the one that we missed, and this is on me, part of it is coming in and just kind of repeating the pattern that pre-existed. So we do a welcome dinner for new faculty in August. Why do we do that in August? Well, that's usually the start date for faculty. It's pretty simple to do because anybody who's new, they probably all start in August. And so it's convenient. Staff don't all start in August. Staff start each week, each month throughout the course of a year. But I asked, well, how many new staff joined us in the past year? Well, it's about 250 people. So here's my what we're going to create for next August. Anyone who joined us from July 1 to, or August 1 to August 1, they'll start the year over the house the same way faculty do. And I appreciate the suggestion and glad to do that. It's actually the president's home. It's an interesting thing to live in someone else's house, and there are lots of looky-loos that drive around the driveway, but we like to think of it as the living room of the university. And having more people over is good for us, faculty, staff, and community. Glad to add that to the list. With that, I know I'm a little bit over time, but I'll take a question or two if you have any. Well, it's comprehensive then, even addressing the major waffle issues. So, I'm glad to be here, and I'll end with where I started. Thank you. Thank you for what you do for this place. Thank you for what you do for our students. Thank you for what you do for one another. And thank you for everything that you've endured, that we've all endured, the global pandemic and challenges to get us to a place where things are just going well. And it's nice to have good news. So, thanks. Have a great rest of the meeting, and the way I usually do, go Cowboys.
All right, we'll just take a minute here, let folks clear the room. They need to go back and get some work done. Our next item will be officer reports. But before we do those, I'll say add a thank you for President Caboni to come here. It wasn't just a one-day engagement. We solicited the questions from the staff. Those questions came in. There were a lot of staff members that helped find the answers for those. Big thanks to Andrea Hills. She led the effort in finding those, going across campus to find those answers. And then, of course, there's a ton of staff members I know that I don't know who were providing those answers. So thank you. And thank you to those that submitted questions. Regent Brickley, report.
As the meeting notes for the next week's committee meetings have not been introduced. And because of the timing of this meeting, I have no report. As of 10:15, we had not been given. I want to stress this is not uncommon. We usually don't get them till a week out of the meeting. We're still 2 days early for that. So we do anticipate getting them today or tomorrow, but we have not gotten them yet. So I don't have a report.
Parliamentarian Collins. No. Thank you. Communication officer.
The only reminder is don't forget that open enrollment starts next week on the 16th for Vengeance. So make sure you are filling that information out, and everyone has to fill it. And if you have questions, I think they were doing some things today.
Yeah, I'll tag on to that.
Okay.
Today, there's actually a session probably just wrapping up right now, but today, the last open enrollment information session is from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. in DSU 3023. And then from until 1 p.m. today, there's also the med centers here doing a flu shot clinic. So you can knock both those out if you can free up your schedule. That was from the HR email. Thank you. And then it's Treasurer Henry.
Staff Senate accounts, E&G index starting on $3,650, addition to disbursements, in balance the same, $3,668. Our Staff Senate Excellence Fund, starting balance $1,925.02, additions of $18.35, ending balance $1,948.37. Our book scholarship, starting balance $1,639.84, addition of $2 in disbursements, ending balance $1,649.84. And just to note, those additions that we get every month are from very generous people that have a deduction, that's where from their paycheck. So I just wanted to thank all those people.
Secretary Moran. Don't zoom.
No report.
Vice Chair Stoll, she fill with us?
No report.
Thank you. Oh, my turn. Okay. Oh, I have my thank you from earlier as part of our report. Continued, as President Caboni mentioned, we've continued our monthly meetings. The last meeting, we talked a lot about the questions that had come up that had been submitted from staff that we had passed on. That was the main component of our conversation. EC continues to meet and have conversations, and we're about to the point of pushing forward a recommendation for the 2% pool. So we'll report back on that recommendation once we have it finalized. That concludes my report. Does anybody have any old business for the Senate? Okay. Any new business? Okay. reserve time for public comment if there's any members of the public that would like to be heard by the Senate. Okay. And then announcements, as mentioned, I made a mistake in our agenda. Our next meeting is November 1st at 10 a.m. We'll be back in this room, DSU 2081. We'll be have Zoom as an option and then public viewing via YouTube again. Next executive committee meeting is October 18th, 9:30 a.m. on Zoom. You members of that should have that invite already. In that open enrollment information meeting today from 1 to 2 in DSU 3023. Med Center flu shot clinic today until 1. And then special note, if you've seen any of the VIP Bowling Greens around town, there are 2 staff members that are recognized in that 40 under 40, Jalen Brown and Andrea Sherrill. So give them a big congrats. They have nice little write-ups inside. If you head over to Diddle for a volleyball game or basketball game, you can pick one of those up, or you'll see them around town. They're kind of a teal colored, but it's nice little write-ups about both of them. So congratulations to them. I think that concludes our meeting. Motion to adjourn. Okay. All right, thank you all very much.